Limits involving infinity. So basically, that was a weird eye there. We're just looking at what happens as x gets really, really big or really, really small. Now, instead of, so kind of like when we did in behavior stuff last year, it's kind of like a little bit like that. Then we'll also be looking at horizontal asymptotes compared to last section where we were just looking at a particular point and what was happening. Huh?
I know a clown. I think you should know.
Name is Bobo Bosco Bottom. Way out there and way out there. Okay. Use the graphs and tables to find the limit. So part A, I'm just going to write this out so we can see. The limit as x approaches infinity of f of x. B, the limit as x approaches negative infinity of f of x. And C, the horizontal asymptotes. So 2, f of x equals the sine of 2x over x. So when we look at this, the limit as x approaches infinity of the sine of 2x over x. What happens when we put like a really big number in for sine?
It kind of just keeps on doing its thing.
Yeah, it just stays kind of where it's at, right? It doesn't really change a whole lot. What if I put a really big number on the bottom?
Yeah, it'll get kind of small. Really small numbers.
It'll go toward
0.
0. So this would be 0. Because sine can never be anything bigger than 1, right? So it's essentially 1 over a really big number, which is just going to get closer and closer to 0, the bigger the number you choose.
So if it was like there was nothing on the bottom, could we put 1?
The limit as x approaches negative infinity. So basically, if I put I'm going to say a really small number, meaning like negative 500 kind of thing, what's going to happen?
Same
You're
thing.
gonna hit this. Oh, same thing? Oh.
Yeah. It'll just be negative 0.00000001 versus 0.00000001.
Same thing.
And then as far as horizontal asymptotes, what do we think about this one?
You got this, Virginia.
See, I want to say. No. Wait. Figure out.
So we only look at the variable, the highest powered variable.
Okay, so that would be the same. Oh.
But this is inside of the function. So it's actually bigger on bottom because it's inside of a trig function.
Okay.
So it's going to be y equals 0. This isn't a situation we've had before, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't have known that. I just wanted to see if y'all could figure it out.
I should have
So
knew.
why is it like that again? I
Because-
would have guessed 0, but I was thinking vertical asymptotes.
Because the trig function, like you can't have, like we don't look at what's inside of the trig function when we're determining asymptotes.
Oh.
We're looking at like the highest powered term. So it'd
trig
have to be like an
function-
x by itself.
So the trig function kind of cancels out the whole x.
Kinda. I mean, it would be the same thing if we had like e to the x. Like it would kind of be the same situation.
So even if the x had a power on it, we would disregard that because of the sign.
Correct. Because it's inside the trig function.
What if it was like something sine, like 2 of it, but there's something in front of it?
Like x sine of 2x or something like that. then I'm pretty sure at that point you go on your normal rules. But it probably is more inclined to be like x plus sine of 2x because we look at the highest powered thing. I don't see one that's like that per se. We'll look at this one in a minute too that might answer a different kind of question, kind of like that though. For f of x equals 3x cubed minus x plus 1 over x plus 3. For the sake of not having to rewrite this function every time, if you just want to write, like for part A, the limit as x approaches infinity of f of x, as long as you've written what the function is here, like I don't care if you want to do that just to shorten it. If you want to write out the whole thing, that's fine.
Would we be allowed to do that on the AP exam?
A question that's as short as this is not going to be a free response question.
Okay.
It would be a multiple choice question.
Oh, world.
I don't know what that was.
That was a great face, though.
Yes, you are. I got.
Imagine people watching this video.
Yes.
I watched him shake on it.
Yes, I clearly did too. I mean, and I even raised the amount. It was supposed to be 93. Then I changed to 95. So, 7th period, it's happening.
All right, so when we're doing limits at infinity, I only, again, care about the highest powered term. So in this case, it's the 3x cubed over x part. So basically, if you plug in a really big number for x, like 500 top and bottom, what's going to end up happening?
You got this.
Um,
I know you got my answer.
You don't have to obviously give me like an exact number, just like what is happening. Is it getting really, really big, really, really small, 0?
bigger.
It's in beginning.
It's going to infinity.
I prefer saying that it's in beginning.
So we only, when we're doing, like, inserting the number to, like, see where it's going, we only use the highest powered term on the top and the bottom?
Yeah, we only need to because nothing is going to change if I add on this other stuff. This is all just menial at this point.
Okay.
Like nothing is going to change it that drastically.
So, like, it could, but it's really not good.
Yeah, you just don't need to. You just need to look at the highest power. And like at this point, I can see that if I reduce that, I would be left with 3x squared, which means it has to be getting a really big number.
Okay.
Like, once the numbers
I'm
get...
pretty sure we're moving that big thing to your house, Mr. Keller and
Yes, I know.
I. Okay.
once
What
the
is it
numbers
again?
get
A
really-
TV stand.
Okay, thank
once the numbers get really big, the highest power will kind
you.
of
I did
just
not
take
mean to
over.
slam it.
You're good. Proceeds to shut it harder. Okay.
He's just a little special.
The limit as x goes to negative infinity of f of x. So what happens if I plug a negative number in?
It's getting smaller.
It's getting big in the negative direction.
What happens if I plug in a really big negative number on top?
It's gonna
It goes-
stay negative.
Negative. What if I put a really big negative on the bottom?
It'll get positive when dividing.
It's negatives. Negative divided by negative is.
A positive.
Still
I
good.
didn't think that far ahead. I know the next one
Yeah,
though.
'cause,
Trick
like,
question.
The x's kind of, like you said earlier, the x's kind of cancel out, so it would be like 3x squared.
Letter C.
What's the horizontal asymptote?
There is
NA.
None. Negative. Nada.
I just wrote nah.
Nah.
Bro.
Here, I'm gonna write ha, colon, nah. Oh, that looks like Hannah. Oh well. My answer is Hannah. Hannah. Hanu.
6.
Great number.
F of x equals 2x minus 1 over the absolute value of x minus 3.
That's convenient.
So the limit as x approaches infinity would be what?
I just totally forgot the L.
Infinity.
Positive infinity. The limit as x approaches negative infinity. Or wait. That's not right.
Aww.
What do I have? 2x over x, right? So if I plug in infinity, what happens?
It'll be less than.
Okay, so that's like 2 minus 1, or like negative 3.
No.
No,
What is x over
absolutely.
x?
1.
So 2x over x would be
2.
2.
But then what about the minus 1 and the minus 3?
We don't care about that. At infinity, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Would number B, I mean, letter would letter B be negative 2? Yay.
would number be?
C. The horizontal asymptote.
2?
Is it 2 or 3? Do we add? the
They are
coefficient?
both the same, so we,
Use the coefficient.
which is,
Do we add them or multiply them? Okay, your face says 2. That's a very 2.
it's just the number in front.
Okay.
So like 2 over 1.
Oh, so we fraction them. Got it.
So y equals 2, or,
Y equals negative 2 because of the absolute value.
yes. That's why I wanted to do that one, because I wanted us to see it.
So if instead of like 2x over x, that was like x over 2x, would that be 1/2? Okay.
Or negative 1/2.
I didn't mention the absolute value. Okay.
You should have.
No, I
You should
didn't
know
want
better.
to. I did that on purpose.
Find the limit.
Yay.
Confirm your answer using the sandwich theorem.
Ooh. Can we eat the sandwich theorem instead of using it? I don't think the sandwich would consent to being used like that.
All right, the limit
Understand.
as x approaches negative infinity of 1 minus the cosine of x over x squared. And I have to say what that is equal to. So at
Die.
initial thought, what do you think this is equal to? Without the sandwich theorem.
Error.
Let's see. Sine 2x over x.
I would say 0.
Why?
Because that x. I'm sorry, I just thought, wait, we're going in the negative direction, so it would be negative infinity. No, because first of all, there's a squared thing, and 0 can't
Oh,
be
I
negative.
forgot we're putting that in.
Negative 0 isn't a thing.
Correct.
Right.
So it is
0.
0. Now we're going to confirm with the sandwich theorem.
What if it was negative?
I'm going to give you a hint. Almost every time they say to use the sandwich theorem, it's equal to 0.
Why
Oh.
is it so? Why is it equal to 0?
Because it.
Because basically, cosine of a number is just going to stay between basically negative 1 and 1. So nothing's changing that. So I essentially have 1 over x squared. But negative 500 squared is just a positive number. So 1 over
25,000.
a really big number is always going to be 0.
Okay. So now we are inserting it to the cosine
Well, we did in the first one, but I just said it really didn't matter
Okay.
because it's inside.
Okay.
So it's not really relevant. So the sandwich theorem would say that negative 1 over x squared is less than or equal to 1 minus the cosine of x over x squared is less than or equal to 1 over x squared. Now, that's because what we're saying is that this value of this limit that I'm taking for this function has to be between negative 1 over x squared and 1 over x squared, because this is essentially that, just with a little minus cosine on the top. So it has to be in that range for that. I know the limit here is 0. I know the limit here is 0, so if I put an infinity, it's going to 0. And thus, by the sandwich theorem, the limit as x approaches negative infinity of 1 minus the cosine of x over x squared equals 0.
Now I spelled sandwich wrong, and I was really confused. I'm spelling with the H now too.
It's like I also always spell restaurant wrong.
Yes, Miss Schindler had to teach me how to spell it because I was
Yes.
spelling wrong every time. She was like, just sound it in your head. Rest A, U, rot. And so then every time I spell it, that's what I do.
Rest A,
I would have said rest a rant. You know?
That's like when I spell like Wednesday, I always go Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday.
You almost
like
had it.
Wednesday. I would normally have a piano lesson today, and like yesterday, my teacher texted me saying that I could come at 6 for my lesson today because her student before isn't feeling well. My lesson is normally from 7 to 8:30. Yeah.
That's late.
I'm the last one of the day though, so yeah.
It's late.
But I got a text earlier today saying that my teacher wasn't feeling well, so I don't have a lesson.
Are you excited or sad?
A little bit of both, because I have a cross country race tomorrow, so it means I'll be able to get to sleep soon.
Get some quality rest.
Hopefully. Just
Alright.
don't have to wake
I'm
up.
going to do this one a little different than the book says. It says to use graphs and tables to find the limits, but we don't really need to do that.
Well, I am x arrow 2 to the negative.
From the left.
I know. I guess from the negative, in a sense, makes sense.
Some sense.
Just a
Sure.
Just a tiny bit.
Why not?
I'll let you have that one. So, as x approaches 2 from the left, what does that imply that number would be, approximately? 1.9 something, right? So what I do is I just visually think, okay, 1.9 over 1.9 minus 2. So this is 1.9 over negative 0.1. What kind of number would that be?
Big negative.
Yeah.
A big negative, so this is negative infinity.
So when you say like x is approaching 2 from the left, is that like, if I ask you a question, is it like
You always
2?
say that.
I know. 2 on the y or on the x?
X.
Okay, that was a stupid
The limit as x approaches 2 from the
She
left.
finally had a stupid question when she warned us about it. She never
So,
has stupid questions.
Basically, as we get really close to 2 coming from this direction,
Okay.
that's the value I'm looking at.
Like, seriously, how did you end up thinking that?
So
Like,
you're
it
saying
says
that
as x approaches that, okay?
it's approaching 2, like it's not at 2, but it's getting
Right, it's getting close to 2, but it's not there yet.
Right, but the x is your
So really, it would have been easier to see with this problem if we had done, like he said, like 1.99999, but I felt like we could see it without that, and that's the main reason I didn't go, like, obnoxious.
1.9999999.
Because you would end up with a number that's almost 2 over a point 0.0000000000001, and when you do that, that's going to give you a giant negative number.
Fair enough. Just easier.
Be like this big.
I mean, if you put enough 9s in there, you could have an error.
You could have an
Your calculator is going to be like syntax error.
It's
Higgman
like,
does that.
it's like, this number is too big.
Sometimes I do problems out of order in calculus, so I have to keep looking to see if I have them in right order or not.
That's terrifying.
20. The limit as x approaches
Arrow.
pi over 2 from the right
Line 2 plus.
of secant of x.
Secant of x always looks so unfortunate.
So immature.
I know, I keep on saying
Or in
this,
Virginia, Seco.
I don't think I'm mature enough to be an adult.
Sino.
Fortunately, you aren't yet, so
Yeah, I know.
you don't have to be quite yet.
I'm scared for the world.
I think it's scary for you too.
So with this one, I'm approaching pi over 2 from the right
Okay, so we have pi slash 2. Is that arrow just like for the from the right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not part of the secant.
I mean, it could be, but no.
Okay,
What happens as I get close?
well. I say we go negative infinity. Because that's what the brain says secant does. Because it goes one, it goes one, it goes one. it goes
So
one,
let me just put this. Let's just.
one.
I did not get there.
All I remembered is where the center one is, you know.
Okay. So cosine starts at 1. Like so.
I just wrote pi over 3 instead of 3 pi over 2.
So then secant comes off of these like such. So as I approach pi over 2 from the right, that's what I've written in green here. It's kind of hard to see what's happening.
It's getting negative.
Yes, so it's going to negative infinity.
I don't think limits
Yeah, I
are
just-
for me. My
I
brain
just had to,
still
like,
more.
I just had to like visualize how the cosine went to remember how the secant went. The secant goes whoop, whoop,
That's why when you said, did you just draw that like what you meant? And I was like,
whoop.
that's why I had to like register. And I was like, no, I did not. I did not.
I'm not.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes,
What,
okay.
me?
Yes.
I thought
You're the only one talking. Who else would have the voice?
Yes, you're the only one talking, Josh.
Josh.
Naboo story.
Okay.
Did you see the messages from yesterday?
I don't know.
I think it came in during the game or right before our game. Okay, 21 through 26. The limit as x approaches infinity of y, and the limit as x approaches negative infinity of y. So just instead of f of x, they said y.
Why?
Y equals 2 over x plus 1. Whoa, that's a really big one. Times 5x squared minus 1 over x squared.
Is everything alright?
I'm just sleepy.
Yeah.
I feel it.
All right, so the limit as x approaches infinity of y. What happens if I put in infinity in this first thing?
Tiny.
Plus 1.
One with a tiny.
So 1 times. What happens if I put in infinity here?
Those thingies kind of cancel.
So I'm left with.
4.
Yeah. Cause like it's like 5 minus.
I don't care about that. I only care about the highest
Oh.
power term.
5.
5.
So what does the minus 1 do?
Nothing.
Oh. Oh yeah.
At infinity, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I understand now. It's like it just does just a teeny little thing.
Like, really, this one's irrelevant. I kind of just wrote it because it's like 0 plus 1, essentially. It's the only reason. And it's not going to really change anything. The limit as x approaches negative infinity of y. What happens when I put in negative infinity here?
1.
It's basically still 1. What about over here?
Still 5.
The same thing. 5.
Love that.
So it's also equal to 5.
I want to see what this actually does on the graph.
24. Y equals 2x plus the sine of x over x.
T4. That's all of x's.
The limit x approaches infinity of y. What happens when I plug in infinity for x? Or a really big number? Or what happens if I plug it in sine?
It's just going to the sine.
Keeps oscillating, right? Between -1 and 1. So I can ignore that. We can kind of just say that that's kind of like the +1 part and the other pieces. I mean, it's not literally, but that's kind of how you can think about it. It's like irrelevant. So when I cover that up and I plug in infinity, what would I get? Two.
Yay. Josh wasn't saying anything. I didn't have.
Yeah, because I wanted to see what the other graph would do.
The limit as x approaches negative infinity of y is 2.
I got kind of excited. Here, I'll have to show you how it went, Virginia.
To show you how it went.
Yeah.
All right. Find the vertical asymptotes of the graph. Describe the behavior of f of x to the left and right of each asymptote.
That was a little scary. Crap. You distracted me.
Well, I kind of missed it too, so it's all right. We're both missing stuff.
F of x equals x squared minus 1 over 2x plus 4.
F of x equals x squared minus 1 over 2x plus 4. That looks terrible.
Okay, first and foremost, it says
Thank you.
find the vertical asymptote.
Oh. That
X
would
equals
be
-2.
Jinx.
Jinx,
Jinx, knock on wood.
What?
I
What
won.
is wood? What is
You
wood
jinx
now?
and you jinx knock on wood. Right?
I always
Is this actually
Jinx, buy
wood?
me a Coke.
So now you owe me a Coke because I beat you.
Just want you to shut up.
Well, if I don't get I actually don't really like Coke. I prefer Diet Dr. Pepper. Just so you know.
How much do they cost?
Like,
Because I know I'm going to forget to buy you this.
round it up to like $3.
Give you a good 2.
Oh, thanks.
You should just hold that because I have a feeling that's gonna happen again.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold
Y'all are
on
just
to
gonna
it.
keep passing back and forth the $2.
I'm like,
The next thing would be a 5, and I don't feel like giving you $5. Oh, look, it's you.
VA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Va.
Va. Why did I do it so loud?
All right, so as we approach 2 from the left, or -2 from the left, what happens? So basically, what number would that be? -2 from the left.
Negative, not so negative. I say positive infinity.
-2 from the left is what number?
Negative 2
1 point
from the left.
no.
Oh. Negative numbers. 0.200 and then a 1.
Yes.
I thought you were.
If I
was
plug
thinking
that in, what's going to happen?
The thing's gonna be negative on the bottom.
Yes.
So
And where is it going?
Negative infinity.
Negative infinity.
My brain does
Because
work.
essentially I have -2.001, I'm just going to say squared, over 2 times -2.001. So essentially, one of these is canceling. So that's going to go to negative infinity because the bigger number's on top. How about the limit as x approaches -2 from the right? What number would that be?
You got this, Virginia.
I'm gonna say negative 1.9999999.
Keep going.
So again, but now what happens?
It's bigger on the bottom
It's bigger on the bottom, so it must be going where?
to infinity.
Yep. Thirty f of x equals 1 minus x over 2x squared minus 5x minus 3.
Are we still finding the very flat?
How do I do that?
Factor.
Factor, which is going to give me what?
Think about this. So you multiply the 2 by the. Oh.
One of them's gonna be.
4 and 1.
I'm sorry, what?
What?
4 times 1 is not 6.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're gonna have one.
Wait.
Like we're gonna do like. No, maybe
Wait, it
not.
has
We're
to
gonna
add.
do a numbers and then.
When you multiply these two numbers, they have to add up to give you that
That's
one.
Negative.
Oh, it's negative 6 and 1.
So then factor by grouping, we take out a 2x, I'm left with x minus 3, take out a 1, x minus 3, so I've got 2x plus 1 times x minus 3, set both pieces equal to 0. So what are my two asymptotes?
Negative 1/2 and 3.
Yep. X equals negative 1/2. X equals 3. Now I have two limits that I have to deal with. So I have the limit as x approaches negative 1/2 from the left. The limit as x approaches negative 1/2 from the right. The limit as x approaches 3 from the left. And the limit as x approaches 3 from the right. What happens when I put in negative 1/2 from the left?
Negative, no. Wait, yes. Negative, like, 0.6 or something.
So all I'm really looking at is the negative x over 2x squared piece.
So like that's like range 0.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's stupid.
I think those children are dying.
Brain.
That's what I was gonna say. Bigger on the bottom, right? So when would it be going to 0? Like I know.
These ones aren't going to be.
Okay.
The next one would be same thing, right? Or no? That turns positive on top.
They're going to be opposites. And some of them, if you're not sure, like it is worth graphing because you can see what's happening at each thing. And
So, like,
then,
we're gonna be allowed to graph them too.
That one's infinity.
yeah.
And then negative.
Yeah. So we'll just have for Friday like 4 more problems to do. They're pretty chill. So we'll finish these ones up. Then tomorrow there won't really be anything, Virginia, since he won't be here.
Whoa.
So
Yeah.